Hi everyone, it's Chelsea here, and I am very excited to step you through Materio's scope table today in this tutorial. Let's first navigate there. To get to your scope table, you will go to your scope of work in a project and click up here on the Plan by Category or Plan by Location button and toggle to the scope table view. Here is where you are going to see your entire scope of work and all of your scope items in a table view. As I scroll through, you can see that all of my items are right here in front of me with the most important pricing input data points. As you look at what columns are in here, you can see that beyond the standard item, category, status, type, vendor information, you also see every piece of information that goes into your pricing, your profit margins, your tax information, all right here in one view. Let me point out a few key things for you here. The first thing is that the way that you can see components of an item is you will click on this arrow right here and it will open up to show you each of those individual components that make up your scope item. The next thing that I want to point out is that your items will show up differently depending on their status. So if, for example, like I have here in my kitchen doors scope item, this has not yet been approved, which means that the estimate is going to show up along with the information of whatever options I have for that scope item. We made it really easy for you to understand that these two things are related by having this bar here that groups these two lines together. Once an item moves into being approved, that estimate line will go away. So the only information that is showing is the information that is most important for you to be able to access. Additionally, I want to point out what happens when you have a multi-component item that has different information within it. You can see here that within the type column, if your multi-component has multiple types, the main line here is going to show the first initial of each of the types that are within that multi-component item. When it comes to the pricing inputs that are percentage based, if there are multiple percentages within one item because it's a multi-component item, the main line here will show multiple. That way you know to drill down into this item and you will see each of the individual percentages for each of the items within that multi-component. Now, why did we build this for you? Why is this so awesome? It's because you are able to edit within this view. We wanted to create a view for you where you can have access to all of the pricing inputs for all of your items so that you can quickly look through your information, edit your markups, edit your vendor cost, edit your tax percentages, and be able to have that updated within your scope of work in a way easier way than clicking into scope items multiple times each time that you have to make an edit. If I wanted to edit my project scoping numbers here, I can simply just click in, edit those, and as I go across, you are going to see all of the changes that happen once I make that initial edit. Anytime you make an edit and you want to save it, you're going to want to make sure that you go up here and click Save Changes, or if you would like to discard them, just click that discard button. To enter into editing mode, you can also click this button here to get into that mode as well. To show you the power of this tool, including how you can use filters to get the views that will be most helpful for you, I'll run you through a few cases now. The first is, what if I wanted to check my markups for each of the vendors that I am working with here? Let's say, for example, my markup with build.com has changed and I want to go in and I want to edit that markup for all of my scope items that have build.com as its vendor. First thing I will do is I will come into filters here, click on vendor, select build.com. If it is a multi-component, you will see the items within that multi-component that are not relevant to that filter slightly grayed out to help you visualize it easier. To easily collapse this view, you'll just go right here, click collapse, and then you can expand it back out again. Now I know that this markup should be 20%, so I'm going to use a second filter here to give myself an even easier view. So I'm going to say markup is not equal to 20% so that I can see all of the items that have the incorrect markup. And now I'm going to go in and simply edit those. Again, you'll see once I edit the markup, the client subtotal automatically changes along with the total and my profit percentage. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. Next, let's make sure that my client tax is correct on my materials and my labor. To start, I want to make sure that my client tax on all of my materials in my scope of work are equal to 8. So first I'm going to come up here to filters, select client tax, and make this not equal to 8. That way it shows me anything that's incorrect here. To filter this down even more, because I'm looking at materials, I'm going to add a second filter here for material. Now I have a really focused list that I can work within and make sure that the pricing inputs are correct here. I can see that a few of these items have the incorrect tax, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to edit those and change that to 8%. I'll click Save Changes and that update will happen. Now I simply just want to edit these filters to show me all of the tax on my labor. And I want to make sure that all of the labor is taxed at 0%. And so I'm going to change this to not equal to 0, and I'm going to change my type to labor. I see here that one of my labor items has an incorrect tax here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change that and click Save. Lastly, I'm going to do some investigating on my profit margins. So I have a goal of having a 20% profit margin. We're already part of the way through, but what I want to do is I want to check out the scope items that have not yet been sent to the client to see how we're doing on those profit margins and make sure that all of the markups are correct to get me close to my goal. Let's go ahead and use the status filter here to show me my items that have not yet been sent for approval. I'll go into status and click need selections, and I can see all of my scope items that have not yet been sent, and therefore I can talk with my team and decide if we want to make any edits to these. If my goal is to have a 20% profit margin, I'm also going to use the filter here and have this be less than 20%. Now I can sit down with my team and discuss if we want to make any edits to these items to get us closer to that 20%, or perhaps there were some errors that happened when putting these into our scope of work. Let's go ahead and change the profit percentage for my ottoman and bed frame to 20%. You can see that it does the math for you and changes your markup percentage based on the profit margin that you are wanting here. If I make all of those changes, it will automatically update the markups. I can click save, and now I have properly updated those items to get me to that profit percentage that I am wanting. That is the rundown of the scope table within Materio. There are so many ways that you can use this to make it work for your business, for your team, and for your projects. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to us in chat in your account or email us at support@materio.co. We are always happy to help and always happy to hear your feedback as well. All right, I hope this was helpful. Happy building.